If we look at autism, you'll see the elevated serum levels of interleukin 17A in children with autism. That interleukin is primarily pushed out and produced by Th17 immune cells. And guess what? So while the medical community couldn't understand or say, why would Andre, they said he had no underlying medical conditions, but autism can oftentimes be, the brain damage can be initiated through an autoimmune condition attacking the brain. So having that knowledge and understanding that autism can be autoimmune in nature, I started asking these questions in Kawasaki disease, seeing some major autoimmune inflammatory type immune responses in Kawasaki disease, that type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition. Just putting all those things together, it took me down the rabbit hole of thinking, why did he develop type 1 diabetes? How does blood sugar spike so high? Could COVID have really been a factor in this? And really seeking out not to disregard this idea that COVID is this, harmless virus. It is still an immune trigger, period. That alone. Now, you can see, though, how almost harmless COVID can be to people who are not immunocompromised, who have a properly regulating, functioning immune system. Because both Johnny, that would be the father, and the two sisters, all right? I guess one is his twin. The two sisters of Andre were swabbed, and they were infected with coronavirus as well. Now, Johnny's first test came back negative. His second test came back positive. I kind of said to myself, I'd like to see him try a third test, just, best of three, because right now it's 50-50 whether he really had the virus or not. But most viral tests, you can get a false negative where you could actually be positive, but the test came back negative. You're far less common to have a test come back positive, but not actually have that virus or that DNA, RNA within your system. So I'll read some more things here. Johnny and Andre's sisters, they came back positive. They only had mild fevers and a little bit of fatigue. No ill effects from the virus. So the virus, in those who have a properly functioning immune system, it's not but any virus can be an immune trigger that triggers the result that we see here with this child. All right, I want people to take away that. Dawn, who was in a hospital, Dawn, who was his mother, who was the nurse. Listen to this, folks. This is one of the things that just is just kind of, you have to question the whole medical system. But I love the fact that they actually did this, though. I love the fact that they did not force the mother to get tested. So the father, the two sisters tested positive, the son tested positive, but Dawn, the mother, who was the nurse, she refused to get tested because the hospital's policies would not have let her be there with her son if she was positive, even though he was in the COVID area of the hospital. If she tested positive, she would have had to leave the hospital, couldn't be there for her son. So I thank God that the hospital actually allowed her to refuse the test. So parents out there, members out there, you can refuse to get tested and be there for your family, okay? So I thank God that the hospital actually allowed them to do that. But you also have the question, are they really worried about making sure this virus doesn't spread if they're not willing, if you can just repeat? It just, whole another bag of worms there. Don't worry about that. I thank God that they actually let the mother be there by her son's side in his last few days. So 12 days in the hospital, Andre experienced issues with the brain, heart, lungs, kidneys. Again, that's symptomatic of multi-organ, multi-system inflammatory syndrome, such as Kawasaki disease. It says here, everything that they could do to fight to try and correct the coronavirus. This is what Johnny, the father, said. And this breaks my heart because it shows a lack of understanding, but it's not Johnny's fault. It's the system's fault. And something that came to me this morning was, why don't I look to the medical textbooks, okay? Medical immunology. This is a textbook on immunology that medical physicians are supposed to read and use for schooling and their testing and everything. So we'll read that in a second. But everything that they could to fight to correct it, the coronavirus would find something else to attack. That's not the way it works. Coronavirus doesn't just go circulating and attacking. In fact, they've even seen this with measles infections, that it's not measles that does direct tissue injury, it's actually vitamin A deficiency as being one of the primary factors in severe illness and death in measles infections. It's not the measles virus that just runs rampant and decides to attack Andre worse than his sisters, Andre worse than his father. It is the status of Andre's immune system that allowed for a dysregulated immune response that ultimately took this child's life. It was not the virus. The virus was a trigger, but the virus isn't the cause of all of the systems of his body being attacked with inflammation and ultimately having type 1 diabetes induced.